And for that, we're having an explanation. Like, what? So the shared triangle theory, I forgot who came up with it, but it came up with some psychologists who talk about the different types of relationships you can have with a woman. And what he, or with each other, women and women with men, men with women, or if you're gay, whatever, people, your romantic partner. All right. And what he discovered is there's three key elements in a relationship: passion, intimacy, commitment. Passion is like the crazy sex and the lust and the love and the get lost in the moment. Fuck it, let's go to Rome, right now, the next flight out. Like, it's so passionate. Commitment is like, I'm solid, I'm here, I'm not going anywhere, we're secure. Commitment is the long run. Passion is just like it's fast and furious. Commitment is like solid and true. And intimacy is like, let's cuddle, let's hold hands, we're so into each other. No, you stop it. No, you stop it, right? That's like the whole like intimacy shit. Now, if you look at the intimacy, like, you're so nice, you're so sweet, but we're not want to rip each other's clothes off, and we're not actually in like saying, hey, I want to date you for real. That's a friendship. We like each other a lot, but we're not, there's nothing sexual or committed. It's just a friendship. If there's a lot of passion, he calls it limerence, infatuation. That's just like, yeah, let's get it on. That's just like, let's fuck behind a stall. And if it's commitment, he would call that my parents' marriage. No, it's just empty love. It's just you're together and you don't even know why anymore. You're just like, we're together to be together and there's nothing else. Now, you can combine any two. So if you have intimacy and passion, oh, it's a romantic, beautiful love. It is the Italian love. It is the make love in the moonlight, and we're so into each other. But here's the thing, I'm cheating on you with 5 other bitches. That's what that is. It's romantic love, but it's nothing solid. If you have intimacy and commitment, congratulations, you're her like gay best friend. You are the Moodle. That is the one that every guy wants to avoid. It's like, yeah, I'm her boyfriend. How's it going? We haven't had sex in a year. But I pay for everything. That's companion love. Now, if you have passion and commitment, they call it fatuous love. It's more like toxic love. That's we can't break up and we rip each other clothes up and we hook up, but we don't like each other. That to me is like fatuous love is like, we just gotta keep fucking and we can't see other people and we're all into each other, but we don't actually like each other. That's fatuous love. But when you combine all three, that's when you get to be Jamie's parents.
Very true. Yes.
Consummate love. And all of you, so basically you don't have to worry about the other ones. All you need to do is Google or write down consummate love. And I'm going to leave it to you guys because it's beyond the scope of this webinar. I'm going to leave it to you to Google, YouTube, go fucking town on how to replicate and personify consummate love. That is the ultimate ideal relationship that you guys should strive for.
Mm-hmm. And something, and I wish I brought my parents in for this one. Something that, because I've obviously, and if you guys have seen my videos, my parents have been on my videos, a couple of times. And I always was interested in what makes my parents work, or couples like my parents, because I actually was even interested before I was a dating coach in when I was doing door-to-door sales. I was inside people's houses, right, all day. And every time I met a couple that had been together for like, 20, 30, 40 years, and they still seem happy, I always was like, what, please explain, please help me understand, like, what worked for you guys, right? And there's always 2 different main points that they always talk about. And it's mutual respect for each other and being on the same page. And that can mean mission, that can mean the way that you guys, have fun together, commonalities. Those were always the 2 big points that came up, right? So like in the opposite realm, and I know Jared and Anna have also come across this from, our clients, is I hear a lot about men that are divorced, all my divorce clients, right? They're like, yeah, I married her, we were young, and, I don't really know what happened. I don't really know what happened. It didn't work out. Well, what was it like in the beginning? Oh, well, we did lots of romantic stuff together, and, it was like all hot and heavy. but then it just kind of died. And come to find out, after some asking questions and digging, they didn't really have very much in common to begin with. They didn't really have that shared mission. They didn't really have that shared belief. It was just mostly infatuation, right? So what we're going to be talking about coming up here is relationship patterns and how you guys can identify maybe where some past relationships went wrong, how we can get better at identifying red flags and green flags, and then what are some healthier relationship patterns to look out for and do in the future. Sound good? Okay. So I'm a logical person, as emotional as I am sometimes. When it comes to this, I always like the logic side of it. I always want to know statistics. I want to know, what is it that women are saying that they want, right? So I just wanted to kind of do like a deep dive. And this is really where the statistics come from, the facts. What are women looking for long-term according to recent stats? And these were the things that came up time and time again. Chemistry, number one. Can I carry on a conversation with this man? Do I feel energized when I talk to him? Vulnerability. Is this man open or closed off? Is he comfortable in his own skin? So this is what I mean by further and define your sense of self. And this is, and it kind of ties into what we were talking about, shared mission. And so that being able to speak with confidence about what you want, who you are, being comfortable in your own skin, that's that confidence that women are looking for. We're not looking for cocky, we're looking for confident. Stability. This is a really good one for me, right? Because stability comes in three parts: emotional stability, financial stability, and reliable, right? Can I rely on this man, right? Humor. Can I laugh with him? Do I laugh at his jokes? Does he laugh at mine? Do we have fun together? And then equality. This was another really interesting one, because I saw Sasha, this is why you're in the bottom right here. Maybe this is what he said in the relationship webinar group. Maybe a better understanding when to submit as a man and when not to. I guess that's very important. Maybe roles in general. So the women, the newer generation, right? The Gen Zers, a bit of the millennials, a word that had come up that was not coming up before when they did these studies is equality. The newer generation prioritizes equality more than previous generations. Women want to be treated and respected as your equal, right? So it's not, this is where, like, as much as I love the masculine and the feminine ideas, this is where I kind of want to throw away and put that book down and put that book aside for a second. Because I think it's confusing a lot of men. How can I be dominant and be a man and be assertive, but yet that doesn't, but she has to be submissive for me to do that. I want a submissive woman. But if you are looking, especially for younger women, equality is really what they're looking for. So I don't want to get it confused. And I think a lot of this has to go with just healthy conflict resolution. So being in your masculine frame, right? Being the dominant, assertive one, if you will, really that just translates into, instead of talking at someone, you are holding space for them. You are seeking to understand first, then to be understood, right? And that's going to, that is a very healthy frame. So I'll give you guys an example. So the guy that I had dated before, my boyfriend, I always did this thing, and actually you're going to watch a video on Kristen Bell. She also does the same thing, where, I shut down. If I say something, if I get really emotional, I'll say something and then I'll be like, I don't want to talk about it. And then we'll just move on. Right. And so many guys let me do that because they're trying to save the relationship and not speak up for themselves. Until Caleb, the guy that I dated before, I tried doing that and he goes, come back, sit down, let's talk about this. And I was like, what? You're calling me out right now? And we sat down and he held space to understand why I was upset. And it made me so much more attracted to him. That's what we mean by being dominant or being, masculine, or you are holding space and controlling your emotions, even when the conflict is high and the tensions are high, because that is a very sexy frame. And that's the other point that I want to get into soon too, is starting to see conflict as not an issue, but an opportunity. It's an opportunity to become closer. Because one of the things when it comes to like being in a nice guy frame, they are trying to seek approval and they're trying to rid themselves of disapproval. And in doing that, they don't speak up because they don't want to be a burden. They just want their life to be easy. They don't want drama. So they don't speak up for what their needs and their wants are. But what happens is, it's not like those needs and wants go away. They harbor. It becomes a pressure cooker, right? And that's going to come out in other unhealthy ways. So if you get really good at conflict resolution, where you're in control of your emotions and you guys have that shared mission, where you guys are understanding each other, that is a very masculine frame. That is a very dominant frame that women are happy and attracted to and fall into, and it strengthens the relationship instead of weakens it. Does that make sense? So, okay, attraction. Attraction at the end of the day is really a reflection of your self-worth, right? Your ability to attract goes back to how much do you value yourself, right? Because again, you're trying to be those qualities that you think are going to attract that particular dream girl, right? So how does one get a high self-worth? I came up with 3. Overcoming fears would be one of them. That's more inner game. Action is, what are you doing about it, right? We can sit here all day and do all these webinars and you guys can take all these courses, but if you guys are not taking action, nothing changes, right? And then resilience, being able to get back up on that horse, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if you're feeling down, right? So these are the 3 things. If you do these things consistently for a good amount of time, your self-worth will get higher. It's not some magical wave of a wand, right? These are all these action items right here: overcoming fears, action, and resilience, that are going to get you there. By committing to both of these, the gift that you will get in return is healthy, high standards. Because you value yourself high, you're going to want to make your partner, who doesn't want to settle for mediocrity, also have high standards. Only until you transform your inner experience, your outer experience will follow. So, okay, so I want everyone to write this down. The rate at which you attract women is by a process of overcoming fears and limiting beliefs. So wasting time on the wrong girl. These are really going back to identifying red flags, right? Fear of approaching and shame of approaching, which we're going to get into, and crossing the bridge between friendly and flirty, the mindset and the skill set you have to have. Okay. So how do I know if I'm wasting time on the wrong girl? Jared, Anna, do you want to add to this?
What do you feel like it's wrong relationship?
The things that you mentioned before about the qualities that guys need to have, I feel like that hit it pretty spot on. Oh, you're wasting time on the wrong girl if the spreadsheet that you guys all had to fill out, if she doesn't have the musts and like the things that you don't want, should have, could have, if she's missing all of those, or like too many of them, I feel like you're wasting time on the wrong girl.
I would say when on that point, I think a common theme when guys do is you have your spreadsheet and you're justifying this girl. Like okay, so let's talk about one-nighters, right? You're justifying it because she has 1 or 2 points that you want on that sheet, usually looks, but she has 1 or 2 things that you want on that sheet to a very high degree, and you're justifying not having these other things on that sheet. And because you're like, but, well, it's not her fault. It's like, she's not financially stable, but she went through a lot. She has a lot of trauma, whatever. Okay, bro, you said you wanted someone girl with this who likes the same kind of food. Well, she just hasn't been experienced. She didn't have a guy like me to show her like the good restaurants, whatever. So she doesn't know about the good food. All right, bro, you said you want somebody who's Jewish. Well, she's not really hardcore Christian. I mean, yeah, sure, she's not Jewish, but she's not like like you're justifying everything. Well, what do you like about her? She's fun and hot. Like, okay, man, I get it, but this is not what is here plain as day. And but it becomes harder. And what I'll say again about the relationship trait spreadsheet and why it's like Harry fucking Potter, because when you do it and the amount of clarity it gives you, it becomes very hard to justify. when you're looking at like 50 items and you're looking at this girl and she hits 3. Granted, she's a 10 out of 10 on those 3, but everything else is like, this is not happening. Like, who are you kidding, bro? So that she kind of becomes your North Star when you start dating the trash and the riffraff and all the stuff that you shouldn't be dating, right? Also, there should be like very clear red flags that I'm gonna let Jamie talk on, like just obvious in general red flags that should come up.
I think that's probably one of the most common, right? Is she's pretty and she says yes. Like that becomes the bare minimum. And being one of the qualities of being like, I feel like there's like 4 main archetypes of boy, right? Like, so if nice guy is one of them, there's bad boy, there's sad boy, and then there's good guy. When it comes to being a good guy, the bad boy and the good guy, they attract women the most. And it's actually from the same thing, but they have very high standards, right? They have very high standards. And so as a girl, it becomes like give her the gift of the chase, right? So as someone that is not going to pay attention to a girl simply because she's pretty and says yes, it makes us think, oh, wait, he's not trying. He's not being needy. This relationship must be more for me than it is for him. Now I'm interested. Like I'm curious. My curiosity is piqued, right? And that's going to get her to want to try for you. This is what I mean by giving her the gift of the chase. So using that spreadsheet as your North Star is going to be crucial, because it's going to help you take off the blinders that you might see when you're like, oh, but she's pretty and she's this and she's that. But okay, but it's not what your sheet says, right? So that's going to help you live out your intentions. I want to talk for a second about fear of approaching and shame of approaching. Because obviously, I've been doing this for a little bit, and I've noticed when it comes to approaching your dream girl, girls in general, I should say, I feel like it's almost 2 categories. The fear of approaching is the fear of rejection, right? So this comes back to overcoming fears and limiting beliefs. So fear of rejection, I'm not good enough, right? If she rejects me, if I go up to this girl, she rejects me, that must mean I'm not good enough, right? 2 + 2 = 4, which is not necessarily the case, right? Shame of approaching is another one that I've kind of realized is like in its own little separate category. The shame of approaching is, I don't know, I truly, like, I know women like sex, but I don't know if they want to have sex with me. I don't know if I'm bothering them. I don't know if I feel like because, she might want a relationship and I might not, or vice versa, or whatever. I feel guilty approaching her. I feel shame of approaching her, right? And that is also its own realm of limiting beliefs that I want you guys to really kind of wrap your head around, right? So understanding where you're at right now. Is it the fear of rejection? Or are you feeling shame or guilt when it comes to approaching girls? And are you justifying reasons why not to do it? Is that your fear talking or your intuition talking? And then finally, crossing the bridge between friendly and flirty, mindset and skill set, right? So this goes back to self-worth. So here's the argument. Here's the healthier perspective. If you are feeling either fear of approaching or shame of approaching, right? I want you guys to challenge. Be that little student. I don't know about you, but I was in speech and debate when I was in high school, right? I'm going to debate this topic. I'm going to challenge this limiting belief. And I'm going to figure out, okay, what is another perspective? So one perspective is she's busy. One perspective is she might not want to, hook up. The one perspective is she's having a night with her girlfriends, right? And so I'm going to justify not coming, introducing myself. Another perspective, so let's challenge that. Now I'm on the reverse side, right? You're doing a little speech and debate in your head. How can you think about this differently? Go back to your self-worth. Go back to your sheet. What are the qualities that you have right now that are going to challenge the fact that, okay, maybe by talking to her, I am going to add value to her life. I am going to attract her. I know I am a really great person. I know I'm super fun. I know that, you know, I have all these qualities. When you have a high self-worth, couldn't you make the argument that approaching her would actually add value to her life? So let's start there, right? Let's go to
You guys
this.
are asking about shame of approaching. Can you define what that means by shame of approaching, or that term?
So, okay, so shame of approaching is if I'm noticing a trend recently where guys are talking to me about why they're justifying reasons to not approach. And some of them are saying, well, you know, I don't believe that she's going to either want to have sex. Women don't really like sex. Women don't really want to either have sex with me or I'm bothering them, right? So it's like the shame. I have a shame or guilt feeling of approaching. So I just want to really, the reason I'm bringing this up is I want to further define these fears, because I feel once you are able to identify them and see them for what they are, you are now able to overcome them, right? So understanding where those fears come from, where they manifest, how they manifest, that's going to help you get over them. Now that you've seen them, you can realize, and now once you see them, you can challenge them. What's a healthier perspective? How can I think about this another way? What would my ideal self, how would that person react? Right? So that's what I mean by shame of approaching. Okay, wasting time on the wrong girl. So I know we kind of already talked about this, but again, using that relationship spreadsheet is going to really help you. Okay, so I want to talk about why you might have wasted time on wrong women before, right? So one of the things that we talked about is the reason you guys are all here is either because you have had little experiences, or the experience the experiences that you've had with women before have not been great, right? Toxic relationship patterns. So I kind of want to go, okay, he's in. Okay, so I kind of want to go into why you might be wasting time, or why might you have been wasting time on the wrong girl. So childhood attachment styles is often the cause of it, right? So when we are children, the first 5 years of your life are very pivotal. Those are the ones that are going to really shape how you attach yourself to other people, right? So for example, needy mother, perfectionist father, right? So needy mother, perfectionist father, that can mean you have to try extra hard to get your father's approval. So maybe you felt like you had to be perfect. You had to get all the good grades. You had to do all of these, things to be perfect, to get the affection and the attention from your dad, or from one of your caregivers, I should say. So now you might have carried that into your romantic relationships and think you have to try so hard to get that attachment from the women.
Daddy girls.
Right? So if you fall into a nice guy frame, that might sound like you. Right? Needy mother, she might have smothered you, right? So you're getting that affection, you're getting that attention. And then all of a sudden, when you had your feelings, when you had something, she was overwhelmed. She couldn't handle it, right? So then you're like, wait, you're not getting. So now I have to try extra hard. So it's that, like, this is where that neediness comes from. Emotional shaming. So another. This is like bad boy stuff, right? So like if that's nice guy, let's talk about bad boy. So emotional shaming, feeling unsafe, expressing emotions, right? I think a lot of guys go through this. We have done a really shitty job in society teaching men how to express their emotions, and they bottle them up because from a young age, you get shamed, you get bullied, you get all these for crying, for doing this, for doing that, anything of dealing with emotions. So now you feel unsafe. And bad boys who fall into the bad boyfriend make others feel unsafe because that's the only attachment style they know. Right? Anger, lashing out for attention. If you were ignored or neglected, right, you might get used to, I have to act out. This is where you see some intense jealousy plot lines, right? Where, give me your phone and I'm showing up at your house, because you're thinking you need to do these crazy actions to get that attention, to get that affection back. Perfect parents, I fall into this one. So perfect parents, right? Everything looks like the Cleavers on the outside. Everything is like perfect, hunky-dory, and my parents are awesome. They're in love, like all these things, right? I have flaws. If I was raised by perfect parents, why am I flawed? I'm not good enough, right? So those feelings come into play. bullied as a child. So you're normalizing cruel behavior and feeling unsafe, carrying that into romantic relationships. So the reason why I'm breaking this down is I want you guys, again, to see it from another perspective, because I think that sometimes we blame ourselves. Why don't I have this girl? Why don't, why are all my past relationships shitty? Why do I keep finding myself into these relationships? Give yourself the gift of patience. Give yourself the gift of understanding, right? You don't know what you don't know. And so this might help you guys shape the narrative to then recognize and heal these attachment styles, because they are going to seep into your romantic relationships. Practicing patience, since many of these muscles have never been used before until now. Do you want to add to this?
I mean, you got me with needy mother and bullied as a child. That was definitely me. I know you have your experience.
The anger or lashing out because like being alone, that was definitely me when I was younger, as my parents split.
And I think, like, step one, which everybody talks about, is identifying, which we're kind of doing here. And then I would say step two, which is not as often talked about, identifying and identifying, is not using it as a justification.
Yes, we're going to talk about that next, actually. But yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. No,
you always hear therapy. Find out where your trauma comes from. Where's all the childhood trauma? Where's the trauma? And it's like, okay, great, you know it, but you got to do something now that you know it. Like, I know I had a clingy ass Jewish mother. I know I was thrown into trash cans and beat up and called, Oompa Loompa because I was the shortest kid in the class and all this shit, right? Now what? And that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to get into.
Right. So, all right, exercise, get out your notebooks. I want you to think about your own childhood experiences and relationships with your caregivers. How did it shape your attachment style? All right, what survival tactics did you take on with you into your past relationships that no longer serve you?
Hiding bodies in the Everglades. Not good for it.
So this is that inner work that I really want to hone in on, because this is going to help you strengthen your self-worth, get rid of what doesn't serve you anymore, so you can better find and familiarize yourself with healthier patterns.
I just want to say I love this because I did this, and then like a year later I ended up getting into a relationship.
Yay! You know what? I'm curious. Everyone who is, drop a 1 in the chat if you were bullied as a kid. I was.
Oh my gosh, I would bully the bullies that would try to bully me, and I would hurt their feelings so bad they would leave me alone.
Yeah, I wish that I had that. I was raised to be this is the problem with perfect parents. You're raised to be a perfect little nice girl, never, making everything easy, totally, whatever. It took me a long time for me to work on my self-worth to then speak my truth and get my needs and wants heard, and then boundaries take care of the rest, which we'll talk about. But either way, I loved what you guys were putting. Greg, I totally relate to you on the needy Jewish mother. That was also me to a T. That's like a very Jewish thing. Yeah, a lot of bullying, rejection and abandonment, Shasha. Yeah, like a child's biggest fear is abandonment. So when a child experiences that from a young age, Anna, Sasha, like it really wreaks a lot of havoc. So it's only until you really recognize and start healing that trauma, as Jared says, you're going to then get better, healthier relationship patterns, because you're reflecting that for yourself. You're asking more from yourself, and therefore you're able to ask more from your partner. Do you see how that it's all reflection, right?
Gotcha. My mom gave me up. God, I was like, oh my God.
Okay. Can you guys see my screen? All right, perfect. Whoops. Okay, so understanding your attachment styles. All right, so avoidant, anxious, secure, and disorganized. A lot of people already know what these are. Drop it a 1 if you don't really, you kind of know, but you don't really know what attachment styles, what they all entail. Drop a 1 in the chat. Okay, all right, cool. So this is what I was talking about. It's and same with Jared. It's important to know that these attachment styles can change over time. If you identify with one style now, that does not mean you are stuck in it forever. This is my biggest gripe, and Jared just talked about this, but this is my biggest gripe when it comes to identifying what's wrong, is we think we have to stay there, right? We now use this as a justifier to not get out of a pattern of a, you know, whatever, fill in the blank of something that isn't working, right? So let's
It's a
not.
powerful, by the way, powerful way of getting out of one of these types is by identifying as not that type,
Mhm.
which is really crazy. I don't want to ruin your flow, Jamie, but this is such a pet peeve of mine in the psychology community, and it still goes on today. And we just see this again and again and again, and it is the harmful power of labeling. If I'm doing a session as a therapist with Chris over here, and I go, Chris, I figured you out, bro. You're avoidant type of attachment. I've made him worse. I'm going to make you more avoidant now, right? This is done again and again and again. We see that, you know, people with bipolar or whatever the fuck, anytime they're giving a diagnosis, it makes them more symptomatic. Another study showed this, you know, where psychologists really want to prove this. They had 100 women come in and they said, we want to test the discrimination of job interviews, how people feel job interviews with discrimination, right? And here's how we're going to do it. We're going to add these scar prosthetics to your face. We're going to add scars and make your face disfigured, right? And then you're to report, you're going to go in for a job interview and report if you felt there was some discrimination based on your appearance. They put the scars on, they then show them a mirror of themselves with the scars on, right? Looking all fucked up. And then afterwards, as they're leaving, they go, actually, real quick, I just want to touch it up a little bit more. And what they did in secret, without the women knowing, is they removed all the scars. So the women are now going to the job interview thinking their face is all scarred and hideous. In reality, their face is totally fine now. They removed the scars, right? And the vast majority, about 72% of them, said that they were feeling discrimination by the interviewer. The interviewer was making snide comments, little subtleties about their scars, and they were identified. They could feel that they were ugly throughout that entire interview. In reality, it was all mental. There is a power of labeling and believing something. It makes it work. Now, so ideally, congratulations to everyone here. You are all now officially a secure attachment style.
Yes.
All of you. And as you're a secure attachment style, it is your job to watch for the warning signs of the other attachment styles and to make sure you stay in the secure attachment style. That is how I want you to see this.
Yes. Love that. Love that. Okay. So avoidant attachment style. So I'm secure attachment style. I've done this test multiple times.
We all are.
But I skew a little bit avoidant, but I think I've kind of overcome that.
Sure.
All right. So fear of intimacy, fear of getting too close or becoming emotionally dependent, tendency to withdraw, difficulty expressing emotions, hyper independent, and dismissive of needs. So drop a 1 in the chat if you identify with avoidant attachment, even though you guys are now secure attachment, but just for funsies. Okay. All right. This is how you can overcome it. So explore vulnerability, gradually open up to the idea of vulnerability and emotional intimacy. Practice sharing your thoughts and feelings with women who have earned that side of you. So again, this is what a secure attachment style would do, because they're going to tell if they are, wait, there's a little trigger in my head is telling me to avoid a situation because I don't want conflict, because I think it's easier. I'll just be by myself. I don't need no man, right? Look out for those. Those are warning signs. Go back to this. Challenge your avoidant behavior. When you feel the urge to withdraw and distance yourself, challenge that behavior by consciously staying engaged and present in the relationship. Develop healthy boundaries. We're going to set in healthy boundaries coming up, but learn to set and respect healthy boundaries that allow for emotional closeness without compromising your own autonomy. And practice emotional regulation. Develop skills for managing your emotions, like recognizing and accepting your feelings and finding healthy ways to cope with discomfort. So something as a secure attachment style, what we do is, yes, I'm having, these feelings aren't going to go away. right? Sometimes, especially as I was saying earlier, like during fights or whatever, I'm like, oh, I don't want to talk about this. But now that I do it, I'm like, no, but I need to start seeing conflict as opportunity. So you have to talk about it, because if anything, think about that moment in the future where you guys are closer, right? Or the gift that it'll be giving you if she leaves and you find someone that is going to be better for you. So using that, that's going to help you overcome this feeling to flee. And cultivate secure relationships. So seek out relationships with women who value emotional intimacy and are supportive of your growth toward attachment style. So again, valuing emotional intimacy, I would add that to my relationship trait spreadsheet, to be honest with you. A woman that is able to hold space for you and feel comfortable enough to come to you when something is wrong, you presenting that that foundation where she can come and talk about what she's feeling, her wants and needs, that is very secure. Anxious attachment style, need for constant reassurance, seeking frequent reassurance and validation from their partners, alleviate their fears of abandonment. Fear of abandonment, there's a heightened fear of their partner leaving them, leading to feelings of insecurity and anxiety, even in the absence of concrete reasons for concern. Hypersensitivity to relationship changes. Individuals with anxious attachment tend to be hyper aware of changes in their partner's behavior, mood, or communication patterns, sometimes interpreting them as signs of rejection or distance. Overthinking and overanalyzing, analysis paralysis. They tend to overthink interactions, often reading too much into small behaviors and comments and assuming the worst. Difficulty with trust. Developing trust can be challenging for those with anxious attachment style, leading up to a constant state of vigilance for potential threats in the relationship. So drop a 1 in the chat if you identify with this one. Yeah, James, that's hilarious. I agree with you. ADD and emotional regulation. Woo! I have like 10 emotions at once all the time. It's great. Okay. How to overcome self-awareness is recognize and acknowledge your attachment style, right? So again, step 1, even though we're all now secure, recognizing where you guys were, I want you guys to look at this as where we were, right? And look at them, look at these patterns that might be coming up in the relationship that are now going to skew. You're going to challenge those thoughts. What's a healthier perspective? How would my ideal version of myself react to this? Those should be your 1-2 punch. Your little speech and debate student in your own mind, right? You're debating. Challenge those negative thoughts. Replace self-doubt and catastrophic thinking. Oh, she's busy. She's not going to have time. She's in line at the grocery store. She's all these things, right? With more realistic, balanced thoughts. Listen, I'm not trying to have sex with her. I'm just trying to figure out if I like her. I'm curious about her, right? Shame of approaching. Develop self-esteem. Focus on freeing yourself from external validation. This one is huge. Engage in activities that make you feel competent and confident. Lifestyle. This is why lifestyle game, the first thing we talked about yesterday, is so important, right? You are now engaging in activities that make you feel competent and confident. And honestly, getting new friends. You guys, I want to talk about this concept here because this is something that's happened to me. A few years ago, I lost a lot of friends. I lost like 3 really, really good friends. And I was devastated. Drama happened, and I knew that I could not continue to be friends with them, and I was devastated. And I didn't think I was going to come back to that because so much of my identity was I'm a part of this big group. This is awesome. Like I have so many friends, and 3 of my closest ones, boom, gone. What gift did it give me now that I've fast forwarded a few years? What gift did it give me is now I'm investing and watering the relationship plans of people who serve me emotionally, that make me feel confident and competent. And you know what I love about this is they only know me as the new me. They only know me as the new me. And it's easier to step in to this heightened, idealized version of yourself when you are around new people who never knew the old you. It makes it solidified that much further. This is why constantly working on developing a wider social network of people who actually can see you as the idealized version of yourself is crucial in becoming the idealized version of yourself. Improving of communication. Learn effective communication skills to express your needs, fears, and concerns, which we're going to get into how in just a second. Set and respect boundaries, which we're also going to get into. And practicing self-soothing. So self-soothing techniques such as breathing, mindfulness, meditation, or engaging activities that help you relax and reduce anxiety. So again, a lot of anxious attachment is I'm going to go to the worst place possible. She said this, she's not doing this. She obviously doesn't like me. I'm not good enough, right? Again, let's challenge this thought and also have a healthy version of it might not mean that much. She probably didn't. I always give people the benefit of the doubt. Unless you are very direct with me, I'm like, I don't know. I bet he probably doesn't care that much about it. You know, I'm probably overthinking this, right? And then it helps me move forward. Disorganized. So this is a mixed responses. This is basically contradictory responses to their partners. They may seek proximity, so avoidant, while also feeling fear or anxiety, anxious, right? So if you guys kind of toggle between the two, this is where disorganized comes into play. Difficulty regulating emotions, may struggle to regulate their emotions, leading to intense mood swings and difficulty managing stress, distressing feelings. Unpredictable behavior, right? Swinging between love bombing, right? Clinging, I'm going to marry this girl. I love this girl. She's amazing. And oh, she did something and she's jealous, she did something I don't like, boom, gone. Right? So it's the intense swinging back and forth. Fear of intimacy and rejection, may avoid getting too close to others due to a fear of being hurt, and history of trauma or unresolved issues. So how to overcome this? So seek professional support. Again, therapy is great. Action is great. Coaches, life coaches, dating coaches, all of us, you guys are here. This is great. Trauma healing, which is what we are on the path to doing, because that is going to help you identify and get over and develop better relationship patterns. Engage in self-reflection. How can I reflect on myself? How can I take responsibility for my past actions, for my part to play in the relationships that I've had? And how can I learn from them? Address communication patterns. Recognize and work on communication patterns that may be contributing to the misunderstandings or conflicts. Learn to active listen and effective expression, which we're going to get to in just a second. Okay. Secure attachment. Well, we are all now. This is where we want to be. This is where we are. So emotional security. Generally feel emotionally secure in relationships. They are comfortable with intimacy and comfortable with independence. We can do both. Effective communication. Communicate their feelings and needs openly and effectively with their partners. They feel confident in expressing themselves. Trust and emotional safety. They have a strong sense of trust in their partner's intentions and feel emotionally safe in the relationship. Balance independence and intimacy. Strike a healthy balance between independence and being intimate. They value their autonomy while also valuing emotional closeness. And resilience. Secure individuals are generally more resilient in the face of relationship challenges. They can work through conflicts and difficulties without their self-worth being shaken. So secure attachment is a practice. It's a daily practice. Okay. Another thing is, if you guys identified, you're like, all right, listen, like, yes, I'm secure, but I identify with a lot of the stuff that's on the anxious side. I identify with a lot of the stuff that's on the avoidance side. What gift is that giving you? The two words that I'm seeing, intimacy and independence, right? Avoidant prioritizes independence. Anxious prioritizes intimacy, right? So you might have one, if you identify with like avoidant, for example, okay, you see the benefit of being independent. Now let's be curious about the other side. So you've mastered this other side. Now now we got to fall somewhere in the middle, because that's really what secure attachment is. It's a healthy middle ground between all of them. You're feeling this, but you're also doubting it to be 100% true, right? So if you're avoidant, I'm with her, therefore I'm not independent anymore. Well, that's not necessarily true. That's skewing all the way to one side. Anxious attachment. I'm with her, she did something that I don't really like, or she made me feel this way, therefore she doesn't like me or I'm not worth it. That's the other side. That's the other pendulum swinging. Let's stay somewhere in the middle. We've already explored one side. Now explore the other side and we'll meet somewhere in the middle and become secure.